Hello everyone and welcome back to Painting with Martin. Today we're looking at another figure from Pathfinder Arena, the board game, and this one is Demon Babao, and I've already pre-painted him, and I've using Contrast Blood Angels Red from Citadel, and also a little bit of German Grey for the tip of the spear. And this video is only going to show you how to highlight him. So if you want to paint him from scratch, I recommend covering him entirely, with the exception of the tip of the spear, with the Contrast Blood Angels Red, because that's going to give him a nice base actually to continue on from. And I've not actually been able to print out any picture to use as a reference, as my printer has run out of paper and need to buy some more. But I actually have a picture from the website claudiocassiniart.artstation.com, and you can Google it as well, but I'm going to show you up here. This is what he looks like. And again, I want to say a big thank you to Giochi Uniti for giving me the chance to paint this board game, because they gave me the game at Essen Spiel, so thank you very much. So as you can see here, he has glowing green eyes over here, and he has of course some white teeth. Otherwise it's a very fairly red picture that we're going to paint, and as you can see that we have to focus our main highlight on where the sun shines. So anything beneath his tail here is not going to be relevant, and of course we're going to focus on the head, the upper torso, as well as the arm here. So when you highlight something, and I'm going to leave this one aside for a moment, and when you highlight something, you focus where the light is going to go. The easiest way to do that is simply hold it up onto a light here, and I have a light source up here, like up here somewhere, and you can actually hold it up the light and see where is the light actually going to go, and that's the easiest way to see where the brightest highlight is going to go. So when you work in highlight, you start with layers, and that means you build up the level of brightness until you're happy with it. And as we're aiming only for a tabletop standard here, we're not going to go completely bonkers over exactly where to focus all our highlights, but we're going to start with placing some Khorne red from Citadel on the top of his head. And we're going to use a fairly small brush for this one. So this one I'm using a size 3 brush, but you can use a size 2, even a size 1 brush for this. So now we're going to focus our highlight on his head here, and his little spike here. And I'm taking great care not to actually touch his face here, with the exception of one bit of around his eyes, and as well here also the arm here. And this is also an excellent way of covering up any mistakes we've made in the past. Moving on to the other parts of the arm here. The torso here is also important. That will leave all those muscles shining, as the contrast gave us an opportunity to work with a color that both blends in the best cases from wash as well as from a regular color. So we work around the miniature, making sure that, for example, over here I missed a small spot for the Blood Angels Red, and I can cover it with this very similar color here, making sure that we have no bright spots around the miniature, that where the primer that I used, which is Vallejo's primer white or grey, is shining through. Also the shaft of the spear here as well, I missed a small point. So now we're going over to the arm here, and it's a very, very subtle highlight here when you start working it up. Normally what you can do is you can apply the base color. Now we're using it on the leg here, and then, but if you used a contrast paint, there is no really base, so this is actually going back to the base, because this is Khorne red, and that's the closest equivalent you can come from Blood Angels Red. His feet, and of course his back here as well. Now, leaving this one aside for a moment, and while this one dries, we're going to go over and put our attention to the spear. Now, the spear I already pre-painted using some German grey, or the tip of the spear, to give it a nice backdrop. We're going to go over to cover it with some Chainmail silver. You can use lead belcher for this one as well if you want to. Chainmail silver is from Vallejo. And we're going to go over it and cover the spear with this one. As such. Very, very easy. And on the other side as well. Don't forget all the corners around it. As such. So leaving this one aside, clean your brush because it's a metallic color. We don't want it mixed around with our red. My apologies. And now we're going to go over to the next step, which is Mephiston red for the other another highlight. And it's a slightly brighter color, and you will see that as well, I hope. And we'll go back to our brush. And we go over, for example, the upper torso here. And as it's much brighter, you want to make sure that some of the underlying color is still showing. As for example, the face here, I want it a little bit brighter. The muscles on his body also showing here, and this is his back here. And it's highlights like these that really can make the figure pop a little bit more to make it stand out. And since he's literally, his body is kind of like all muscles and sinews, so he's here as well. I'm taking care that there is like some leftover blood angels red to make sure that those are actually showing in the recesses here. Going over here as well, and the thigh part of the feet. We can do a little bit of the inner thigh here as well if you wish, not necessary. Of course the fingers here are quite important. Going over again to the torso. And some of the sinews on the neck as well. Now as such, leaving this one aside, we can now go over to the next highlight, and that is going to be some Evil Sunz Scarlet, which is an even brighter one. And now we're starting to work with some really bright tissue here. Now we only want to cover the lightest part of the miniature, where the light would really go, such as the arm, the fingers here as well. Leaving the spear exactly as it is to have a nice contrast from it. Of course, some parts of the face and ears. and now also some parts of the torso. And sometimes you need this to actually go over it in a few stages. Now, as such, we are not done with the next highlight. We need to brighten it a little more. If you want to, you can mix in various quantities of white in it as well. But the next highlight is going to be the final stage is going to be some Wild Rider red from Citadel. So now we've used actually 4 different kinds of red in our on our miniature, and this one is just the tiniest bit of paint to make sure certain areas pop more. His face, his torso, his arm here, as per the card art. A little bit on the leg here as well. So as such, it looks much better already. Now, highlights also means details, and that's also what people really like to paint. Now, we're going to paint his eyes and his teeth white. So we're starting by putting in some white from cold white from Vallejo, which is this color here. Yep. And then we're going to use a very, very fine tip brush. In this case, we're going to go back to using a size 0 brush. And you want to make sure that the bristles are very, very good here. So I'm going to take off my glasses, because I wear glasses, to make sure that I get even more precision. And this can be very, very tricky. So in order to start with this one, I want to start by touching the teeth slightly. And then I want a tiny bit in the eye sockets. That's one, and that's the other. And as you can see here, it looks quite mean looking already, and you can apply the teeth a little bit more as you see fit. You could put them all the way inside. And as this one leaves to dry, we're going to go over to our other special effect, which is blood color. And blood color is one of the best ones called from Citadel, called Blood for the Blood God. And Blood for the Blood God is a technical color, and you apply it quite sparingly, and you want to make sure that you apply it according to the card art. And it's a very dripping color blood. So I'm going to go back to the card art over here, and you can see it's dripping blood from his ear, his arm here, as well as his spear and tail, a little bit from the torso as well. So we're going to focus on these areas. So here we're going to put some more blood here. Of course, it's not going to drip as such, but it is going to add another level of red. So if you made mistakes here and you feel it's too bright, this can actually darken it. And you can actually go back here to the head here, as well as his torso here. And of course you can be quite liberal with this if you want to, because you can make him even scarier than he normally is. So here you can, for example, you can put some blood on his chin, as well as on his teeth. And you can also put some on the spear here. And here you can nudge it away with your finger to make sure you get the special effect of it as such. You can almost use it as a glaze to make sure you have kind of blood dripping in between the muscles here. As such. Now, leaving this one aside, cleaning our brush, and then we are going to look at the next stage. Now, for the eyes have a kind of like a green glow to it, so I'm going to use what we call some effects paint from Warpaints Fanatic. This is called Datasystem Glow. Never used it before, so I'm going to shake it up a little bit, and then I'm going to put it out on my palette. And then, just to get that extra glow effect, I'm going to mix it in with some Vallejo Flourescent green. And I mix these two around. Using another mixing brush and using the same small brush as I had before, and I'm going to cover the white area of the eyes here. With this glowing color. And as such, you actually have a nice and mean looking miniature. Hopefully you can see the glow here in the eyes, and you can see the white of the teeth there as well, bearing in between some of the blood, and you can also see the blood stain of the miniature. If you want to paint the base, I would strongly recommend just putting the base with some non-oil to cover it, giving it a nice kind of like street cobble looking stone. But if you like these kind of miniatures, you like these kind of painting tutorials, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me and helps me give me some visibility as well. Otherwise, I want to thank you for watching me with me so far, and I'll see you next time in the next video. Thank you and have a good day.